Hello students, welcome back to the video lecture series on digital communications. What is the most difficult job in our life? Can anyone guess it? The most difficult job in our life is spending a day without communicating to anyone or without talking to anyone, either directly or indirectly. So communication is most important in our daily life. So all of you done analog communication course in the previous semester, and you might be exposed to the fantastic, amazing and all inspiring realm of analog communication course, especially the fundamental guiding principles of the analog communication system. So this course aims to extend a similar introduction to the later developments in the exciting fields from the perspective of digital communications. So we focus exclusively on the digital communication system concepts and several underlying principles which form the basics for these modern marvels of technologies. So we all know that in digital communication system, the information is transmitted in the form of bits. How do you generate the bits? What is the algorithm we are using? How efficiently you can represent your information signal in the form of bits? What is the mechanism? So what are the different types of codes we can apply to convert your information into in the form of bits? Right? So what are the different schemes used in the transmitter side? What are the various schemes used in the receiver part? And finally, how do you protect these bits when you are transmitting the information over a communication channel? Right? So basically, what are the course objectives? The course objectives of digital communication system are, objective of this one is, this course offers the fundamental and theoretical as well as the practical concepts of the digital communication system. And this one, it will introduce the basics of digital communication system and what are the advantages of digital communication system when compared to analog communication system. And it will introduce the waveform coding techniques such as pulse code modulation and delta modulation and adaptive delta modulation. So these are waveform coding techniques. And it will offer digital modulation techniques also. Digital modulation techniques means amplitude shift keying, frequency shift keying, phase shift keying and quadrature phase shift keying followed by quadrature amplitude modulation. So these are the various digital modulation schemes which we will cover in this subject. Similarly, it will offer the basics of information theory and different source coding techniques. That means how to convert your information signal into in the form of bits. So various algorithms we are studying. For example, Huffman coding. So this is one of the algorithm, that is Huffman coding algorithm. And similarly, we will discuss the error control coding techniques like linear block codes. Next one is cyclic codes. Next one is convolutional codes. So these are the various error control coding techniques, and it will offer the fundamentals of multiple axis techniques like TDMA, that is time division multiple axis, FDMA, frequency division multiple axis, and CDMA, that is code division multiple axis. And it will introduce the basics of spread spectrum concepts, which are nothing but direct sequence spread spectrum and frequency hopping spread spectrum. So this subject covers these all the topics, right? So what are the course outcomes? Once you completed this course, by the end of the course you are able to obtain That means you are able to understand the models of digital communication systems. That means what are the various elements are there in the digital communication system and the basics of information theory. So what do you mean by information? How it can be measured? What are the properties of information? How to convert your information signal into bits efficiently. And the third one is you can understand and analyze the digital pulse modulation techniques. So you can able to analyze digital pulse modulation techniques. And you can analyze digital modulation schemes. That means amplitude shift keying, frequency shift keying, phase shift keying, quadrature phase shift keying. You can able to model and analyze the modulation techniques. The next one is you can able to apply error control coding techniques for efficient communication. That indicates how to detect the errors and how to correct the errors in the information bits. And you can able to understand basics of multiple access techniques for communications. So these are the course outcomes. And similarly, you can able to design different digital communication systems and hardware as well as simulations of different applications. Okay, these are the outcomes of digital communications course after successful completion of the course. That means by the end of the semester you must be familiar with these all the outcomes. Okay. So to go a little bit further, if you look at the schematic of digital communication system, it has several components. Each component is very exciting by itself. So it has discrete information source, source encoder, channel encoder and modulator. So these all the blocks are nothing but the transmitter. That means this total is called as the blocks in the transmitter. And demodulator, channel decoder, source decoder followed by the destination. These are the various elements in the receiver, and in between these two we are having as channel. So any communication system consists of majorly three parts: the transmitter, communication channel, and third one is the receiver. Right? So these are the various blocks in the transmitter and these are various blocks in the receiver. So what is the function of each and every block? What is the significance of each block while transmitting the digital information from source to destination? So we will see each and every block in detail. The first one is discrete information source. So we are already studied information source means it will generate some form of information. So here we are considering as discrete information source which will generate or which will produce a sequence of symbols or a sequence of messages. For example, you can consider the symbol X is generated by the discrete information source. Right? For example, if we are having as analog signal, so how to convert the analog signal into discrete signal? So analog signal is converted to discrete signal by using two steps. So analog signal means the signal is continuous in both amplitude and time. So this one is amplitude, x-axis is the time. So analog signal is continuous both in amplitude and time, and we can convert this analog signal into discrete signal by using two steps. The first one is the sampling process. So what do you mean by sampling? Sampling means it converts the continuous time signal into discrete time signal. Sampling is nothing but the process which converts the continuous time signal into discrete time signal. So the output of the sampler is discrete. That is, the time is in form of discrete. It is like this. So it is amplitude. So amplitude is continuous, but the time is discrete. Right? So it is 0, Ts, 2 Ts, and so on. Now, so the continuous time signal is converted to discrete time signal by using the sampling process. The condition is you are already well known. That is, Fs must be greater than or equal to 2Fm, where Fs is nothing but the sampling frequency and Fm is the maximum frequency of the message signal or your input signal. Right? Now the second step is quantization. The second one is quantization. What do you mean by quantization? Quantization means which converts these continuous amplitude signal into discrete amplitudes. It will convert the continuous amplitude signals into discrete amplitudes. For example, we can consider like this. So this value we are assuming as 0.1 and this one I am assuming as 2.1. So this one I am assuming as 2.9. So this one I am assuming as 1.9. This one I am assuming as 0.8. Right? So these are the amplitudes after sampling process. Then the sample signal is passing through the quantization, which converts these continuous amplitudes into discrete amplitudes. So that indicates the output of the quantizer is, so 0.9 is rounded to 1, whereas 2.1 is nearest value is 2, 2.9 means the nearest value is 3, whereas 1.9 means it is 2, like this. That is the continuous amplitude signals are discrete information source. What do you mean by the discrete information source? Discrete information source means the information is generated by the source in the form of a symbols or the sequence of messages. For example, consider the symbol X is generated by the information source. Right? So if we are having as a discrete information source, the output of the source is the symbols or the sequence of messages which are in the form of discrete in nature. Right? What happens if we are having as analog source? If we are having as analog source means the analog signal is generated by the source. Analog signal means the signal is continuous in both amplitude as well as time. So this one is amplitude, whereas this one is the time. Right? So if we are having as analog signal, the analog signal is converted into discrete signal by the process of sampling and quantization. So the first step is sampling. So what do you mean by sampling? Sampling is nothing but the process which converts these continuous time signal into discrete time signal. So what do you mean by discrete time? So the signal is represented as like this. So it will let us as 0. So y-axis is amplitude. So your signal is represented as like this. So I am casting only positive half cycle. So this value let us say I am measuring as 0.9, whereas this one I am measuring let us say 2.1. So this one I am measuring 2.9. So this one I am measuring as 1.8 and this one is 0.6. Right? So the time is Ts, 2Ts, 3Ts, and so on. Right? So here to do the process of sampling is carried out at Fs greater than or equal to 2Fm, where Fs is represented as the sampling frequency and Fm is the maximum frequency of the message signal. Right? That is the first step, which converts the continuous time signal into discrete time signal. And the second one is quantization. The second process is quantization. So what do you mean by this quantization? The input to the quantizer is the signal, that is discrete time signal, and this quantization converts continuous amplitude signal into discrete amplitude signal. That means it is like this. The time. So here y-axis is nothing but the amplitude or voltage. So the value is 0.9 is assigned to nearest integer, let us say it is 1, and 2.1 is assigned to nearest integer 2, whereas 2.9 is assigned to nearest integer some 3, 1.8 is assigned to nearest integer 2, whereas 0.6 is assigned to nearest integer 1. That means the continuous amplitude signals are converted into discrete amplitude signal. So x-axis Ts, 2Ts, 3Ts and so on. Right? So analog signal means both amplitude and time are in continuous, whereas the output of quantization is amplitude and time both are in discrete. Right? So the continuous time signal, that means the analog signal is converted into discrete signal by the process of sampling and quantization. Right? So the next one is source encoder. We are already assumed the symbol X is generated by the discrete information source. The function of source encoder is it converts the symbol X or into binary form. Let us say x is converted into sum 101. The function of source encoder is it will convert the sequence of messages into binary form. That mapping is always one-to-one mapping. So what do you mean by one-to-one mapping? Means, so when you join in this campus, every student is assigned to an unique ID. That is called as one-to-one mapping. What it means is, one student does not assign to two different roll numbers, or two students does not have the same roll number. So that is the meaning of one-to-one mapping, right? So it will convert the symbol x to 101. So why we are using source encoder means, source encoder is used to remove the redundancy. Source encoder is used to remove the redundancy. What do you mean by redundancy? Redundancy means the duplicate information. The same information transmitted more than one time, which is called as redundancy. By using this source encoder, we are removing the redundancy, right? Next one is the channel encoder. So here the output of the discrete element source is x, source encoder is 101. The next one is channel encoder. So what is the function of the channel encoder? Channel encoder, the function of channel encoder is, channel encoder adds some extra bits, let us say 10 I am assuming. Channel encoder adds some extra bits to the output of source encoder. The output of source encoder is 101, whereas the output of channel encoder is 101 and it will add 10, right? So these additional bits, we are adding 10 here. These additional bits does not contain any information. So these additional bits does not contain any information. So why we want to add it? If the additional bits does not contain any information means, why we want to add it, right? So these additional bits are used in the receiver. We are using these additional bits in the receiver. We will discuss later, right? Now the question is, how many bits I can add? I can add either 1 bit, 2 bit or 3 bit or so many. Similarly, where we can add? We can add at the beginning of the information bits or end of the information bit or in between them, right? So we are adding some extra bits to the output of source encoder by using some algorithm. With the help of that algorithm only we can add it, right? So there are various algorithms are there in channel encoder. One is linear block codes. Next one is cyclic codes and convolutional codes. So these are the various algorithms which will systematically add the additional bits to the output of source encoder. So these all the topics we will cover entirely in the 4th unit. So 4th unit is designed for only error control coding methods, right? The next one is modulator. So what is the function of modulator? So discrete element source output we are assumed as x, source encoder output is 101, whereas channel encoder input is, the output of channel encoder is 10110. Now what is the function of the modulator? It will perform some type of modulation. Modulation means the process of changing the characteristics of the carrier signal with respect to the message signal. Here the process of changing the characteristics of the carrier signal based on the message signal. In case of digital communications, your message signal is nothing but your binary bits. Changing the characteristics of the carrier signal depending upon incoming binary bits, right? So there are various modulation schemes are there. Various modulation schemes are there, like amplitude shift keying, frequency shift keying, phase shift keying, quadrature phase shift keying, and quadrature amplitude modulation. So these are the various digital modulation schemes, right? So we will discuss these topics entirely in third unit. So third unit is designed for different digital modulation techniques, right? So for example, you can consider an FSK. Let us say I am assuming as frequency shift keying. So what do you mean by frequency shift keying? Frequency shift keying means the frequency of the carrier is shifted between two levels. Shifting means the frequency of the carrier is shifted between two levels, right? So that indicates, so here whenever the input is binary 1, we are transmitting the carrier signal with frequency some f1 when the input is binary 1, whereas when the input is binary 0, we are transmitting a carrier signal with frequency some f2. When the input is binary 0, we are transmitting the carrier signal with frequency f2, where f1 and f2 are not equal. So that is nothing but binary frequency shift keying. So let us consider binary frequency shift keying. So for example, this binary frequency shift keying. So what do you mean by this frequency shift keying means the frequency of the carrier signal is shifted depending upon the incoming binary data. That means when the input is binary 1, the carrier signal is transmitted with frequency, let us say some f1, whereas when the input is binary 0, we are transmitting the carrier signal with frequency some f2. For example, consider binary frequency shift keying. In case of binary frequency shift keying, the frequency of the carrier signal is changed depending upon the incoming binary data. So what it means is, when the incoming bit is binary 1, we are transmitting the carrier signal with frequency some f1, whereas when the incoming bit is binary 0, we are transmitting the carrier signal with frequency f2, where f1 is not equal to f2. That indicates the frequency of the carrier signal is shifted from f1 to f2 depending upon the incoming binary data. That is the meaning of binary frequency shift keying, right? So which type of modulation we can use depends upon the application. Okay? So the next one is the channel. Channel means which provide the electrical connection between the transmitter and receiver. Which provides the electrical connection between the transmitter and the receiver, right? So basically channels are classified in two categories. So one is wired channel, another one is wireless channel. So the example for wired channel is optical fiber cable or coaxial cable, right? So the example for wireless channels are free space and satellite channel or microwave. So these are some of the examples for wired channel and wireless channel. So once again, which type of channel we can use, it is also depends upon application. For example, if you want to communicate with your friend by using landline telephone, then you can prefer wired channel. So if you want to communicate with your friend by using mobile phone, it is wireless channel. The next one is the demodulator. So what is the function of this demodulator? So it is simply an inverse operation for the modulator. So in case of modulator, we are modulating the carrier signal depending upon the incoming binary data. So whereas the demodulator, simply the reverse process of the modulator, it will extract the binary bits from the incoming signal, right? Next one is the channel decoder. So what is the function of this channel decoder, right? Now if you remember, in channel encoder we are adding some extra bits. So channel decoder recovers the information bits from the received bits, right? So during the generation of the information bits or during the extraction of the information bits, if the received signal consists of any errors or not, that will be detected as well as corrected by the channel decoder. So the next one is channel decoder. So the function of the channel decoder is it will recovers the information bits. right? So during this process, if you remember, in channel encoder we added some extra bits. Okay, so with the help of these extra bits, the channel decoder will detect and correct the possible errors in the information bits. Whenever the information is transmitted over a channel, due to the non-ideal characteristics of the channel, there is a possibility of getting the errors. So those errors can be detected and corrected by the channel decoder by using the extra bits which are added in the channel encoder. Right? So the combined role of the channel encoder and decoder provides a reliable communication over a noisy channel. So with the help of channel encoder and decoder, we are providing a reliable communication over a noisy channel. Right? The next one is source decoder. The function of source decoder is it will convert the bits, let us say here 101, it will convert in bits into the messages or symbols. In this case, so 101 is converted back into the symbol X. Right? So that is the function of the source decoder. Right? Thank you.